Washington mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
And AM 630.
WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL. Brian Eamon, Brian Wilson with you. Trevor Matich is in the studio. Good morning, Trevor.
Have you ever
Good
gone
morning.
skinny dipping, Trevor? It's the question of the morning.
I would like to say that I'll take the fifth, but I can unequivocally say no.
Oh, really?
Never.
So, Wilson, that means you.
You never know.
You guys really
never know when there's a
lives.
barracuda down there with a webcam pointed at you. I just will not take that risk.
You've got to have a suit there to protect you, Wilson, just in case.
Okay.
You never know what's going to grab you. How are you, Trevor?
I am awesome.
How are the Redskins? That's what we really cared to know.
Well, depends on which unit you ask. You know, the Redskins are making progress in a lot of ways. A couple places they really struggled. But the progress is coming in the form of their rookie quarterback, who actually, I think, had a much better game than people give him credit for.
Really?
How
Why so? Yeah.
Well, because
Didn't have a lot of time to throw.
didn't have a lot of time to throw. But against Buffalo last week, he wasn't touched. He wasn't pressured. He got to run through his progressions. In this game, he was running for his life. But the way he did it is what impressed me.
Okay.
He didn't just feel pressure, get confused, and take off running somewhere. He ran with cognitive urgency and decision making. In other words, there was one play where he had pressure coming around his left side. So he stepped up into the pocket, which is what you should do. That's a choice. Then instead of running out of there when he had that pressure, he threw the ball. He found a receiver and completed it. Another play. The pressure came from his right, but the contained man, the defensive end, came too far inside and gave up the outside. So he chose to take off running to his right where that defensive end should have been, and it was 3rd and 5. He had a lot of grass in front of him, so he went and got the first down scrambling. So you can see him thinking while he's running away from pressure, not just escaping for his life.
Well, okay, all that said, and I'm glad to hear that. And like I say, I've always said this about Trevor. He's playing chess while the rest of us are just playing checkers. So he's like so many levels ahead of most of us.
I'm trying to think I might be the rook.
But let me ask you this. I think the key to success in the NFL right now is being able to protect your quarterback to give him time in the pocket. That's the thing that, if you look at all of successful teams, is sort of a universal thing. If you got time in the pocket, the quarterback is always going to do better. He didn't have any time in the pocket.
No. The offensive line is injured. They're missing starters. Some of the guys in there that performed pretty well against Buffalo were completely scorched by the Chicago defensive front, which is much better than Buffalo's.
Chicago's a pretty good
front.
football team.
Yeah, they're very good, but it exposed them. Also, do keep this in mind. The Redskins' plan, all NFL teams' plan in the preseason, is not to help anybody. Their plan is to see who can beat their guy one-on-one. And so the offensive linemen were put in a position to actually have to block those guys, and some of them really failed at it. The secondary was put in position to have to cover those guys without much help, and some of them really failed at it. But that's part of the preseason process. During the regular season, there'll be other stuff going on that'll help shore up weak spots.
So you're chalking it up to line being injured more than anything else, and not as great of a concern as it should be, because they were it was pretty much a jailbreak.
It's a concern because some of the injured guys, there's no guarantee whether they'll come back. Left guard Corey Lichtensteiger, will he be fully healthy when he comes back? Jamal Brown, the starting right tackle, probably they can't count on going forward. And the guy that took his place against the Bears, Tyler Columbus, played pretty well last year against the Bears. Didn't play well at all. So it is a huge concern. But also do keep in mind that things aren't as good as they seem in the preseason, and they aren't as bad as they seem either.
All right, Alfred Davis, number 46.
Yes.
Who got the first handoff of the game and ran over people and looked great in the first couple of series. He's a rookie from Florida Atlantic. Yeah. He looks, I mean, is it just me, or does he look good to you too?
He looks hungry, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He looks like,
he wants to make his football team.
This is my chance.
Yeah.
He did on the very first play of the game. He ran to the left. A linebacker came unblocked because one of those offensive linemen missed his
assignment,
guy.
right?
And Morris ran over him, put him on his back. Then a few steps later, a safety came unblocked, which is normal, and Morris ran over him as well and kept on going. And that's one of the reasons he made as many yards as he did early in that game, because he made his own holes. He blocked people by running over them. Now, the last 7 carries, he only gained 8 yards. But that really wasn't his fault. I mean, he just got swarmed. That's more the offensive line. But yes, that's a young rookie who's bringing some attitude to this team, and Shanahan likes that.
He's a big boy, too.
Yeah.
What do you see out there that really, really just jazzes you about this team this year, besides RG3?
The combination of receivers and tight ends looks really good. You got Niles Paul, who moved from wide receiver last year to tight end this year, and he's 6'1", 235. He's a pretty solid guy. But in this game, at times he was at the point of attack on the run, having to block, and he did pretty well. Other times, for example, when he's caught a touchdown pass from Kirk Cousins later in the game, he had his hand in the dirt as a tight end, which signals that linebackers need to cover him. And he went and put a wide receiver move on the linebacker trying to cover him and ended up wide open in the end zone. If that continues, and if he continues to perform well as a tight end, it's a matchup nightmare for defenses.
Garcon looks like a pretty good pickup in the offseason.
And great chemistry with RG3.
Yeah.
Yeah, in practice and is carrying over to the games. Just like on the backups, you've got Kirk Cousins with great chemistry with receiver Aldrick Robinson.
No, because there was a stat that they showed during the broadcast that I was surprised at. Garcon caught 70 passes last year for the Colts, in which case, they didn't have a quarterback last year.
Right. Peyton Manning was hurt and he was out.
And he still caught 70 passes. So he seems to have gotten better and better each year in the league. So this could really be a breakout year for him.
He's not scorchingly fast on the track, but he's really fast on the football field. He's like Jerry Rice that way.
Yeah.
That he's not as, I'm not saying he's Jerry Rice, but in that Jerry Rice wasn't a track star, but he was hard to catch on the field. And the thing about Garcon is that he's a strong guy and he's got a quick burst, so he can get separation and then force his way into that football if you make up that separation.
He's a big target too.
Yeah.
All right, what are they going to do, as Joe Theismann said in the broadcast, God love him, for the off-the-field distraction that Fred Davis had last year? That's why he didn't play. Meaning, of course, he tested positive for marijuana. What are they going to do with the tight end? Are they going to play two tight end sets? Are we going to see Davis more than Cooley this year? What's your feeling on that?
They played a lot of 3 tight end sets in this game, and I love that. When they opened up the game, first play of the game, 3 tight ends, and they kept doing that. I love that because of the matchup situation. With 3 tight ends normally, you pack them in and you pound the run. But because they've got Fred Davis, who can also play a wide receiver kind of guy, and Niles Paul at tight end, who is a wide receiver, for goodness sake, they can take that packed formation with the same personnel, spread them out into a 4 wide receiver set, and the defense can never be right with their substitutions. I love that.
All right, now, the moment of truth. Prediction for the season.
Oh, God.
We're
now
weeks already?
I mean,
I think you've gotten you know what you got. Generally, come on.
My prediction right now, and as we get later, I'll give you a number. My prediction is that the Redskins, everywhere except for 2 places, will be much better than they were last year. Much better. The offensive line remains to be seen. The offensive line struggled last year with injuries. We'll see what happens this year with their health. Secondary remains to be seen. They did pretty well against Buffalo. They didn't cover very well man-to-man against Chicago. So we'll see. That remains to be seen. Everywhere else looks like they'll be even better.
Is this a playoff team? Come on, let's just put it on the line.
This team is good enough to get into the playoffs, but they play in the toughest division in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that is what remains to be seen as well.
All right, Trev. Great to have you, and as always. We appreciate it.
All right, you guys.
Trev.